Welcome, everyone. I am so thrilled to have you here for today's explainer. We're tackling something that pretty much all of us deal with at some point, those totally miserable workplace relationships. I mean, if you've ever felt just drained by office politics, constantly annoyed by your colleagues, or like you're just trying to survive your 9 to 5, well, get ready because this is going to be a massive eye-opener. We are looking at the workplace through the lens of Alfred Adler's psychology. And let me tell you, it's going to flip everything you thought you knew completely upside down. Okay, let's dive into this. Why does that one person always try to one-up you? And why do you constantly feel like a victim at work? We all know that one person, right? The coworker who literally always has to one-up you in a meeting. The boss who's just needlessly aggressive. Or that colleague who makes you feel like you are perpetually walking on eggshells. You go home, you're frustrated, and you feel like a victim of their toxic personality. You tell yourself, hey, they're just bad people and I'm just an innocent bystander. It is exhausting. But what if our whole way of looking at these office villains is just completely wrong? Well, here is the cruel truth of Adlerian psychology. Your interpersonal struggles, the frustrations you feel every day at your desk, yeah, they're actually a self-constructed epic farce. I know. Actually, scratch that. I know it sounds incredibly harsh. You're sitting there thinking, there is no way I am choosing to be this miserable. But Adler argues that we are, in fact, complicit in our own misery. Why? Because we unconsciously set up these hidden goals. We're literally constructing these office dramas to serve a secret purpose. So, to unravel all of this, here is our roadmap for the explainer. First, workplace survival. Second, trauma, the ultimate excuse. Third, the superiority game. Fourth, unconscious traps. And finally, tomorrow's action plan. All right, jumping right in. Section 1, workplace survival, the harsh truth. When we talk about surviving the workplace, conventional self-help usually gets the dynamics entirely wrong. Think about it. Normal self-help loves to comfort us. It says, you're a victim of toxic people. It's your environment. It's your past. It's really not your fault. And honestly, that feels great to hear. But Adler's approach, it is radically different. He holds up a mirror and says, no, you are choosing this reality to avoid a challenge. It completely forces us to look at how we actively avoid taking responsibility by pointing fingers at everything around us. Which brings us to Section 2, trauma, the ultimate excuse. It is absolutely time to dismantle the biggest excuse we use to stay stuck. And this right here brilliantly illustrates the difference. The normal view is just simple cause and effect. A super strict parent, or maybe a past failure at an old job, causes your current fear of speaking up in a meeting, right? Makes sense. But Adler completely flips the arrow of time. He says the hidden goal actually comes first. Your hidden goal is that you want to avoid the terrifying possibility of failing today. So to justify not even trying, you basically reach back into your memory bank, grab a past event, and weaponize it as an excuse. It's kind of like blaming a terrible test score on a sudden stomachache, instead of just admitting you didn't study for the thing. You're manipulating the past to protect your ego right now. And look, this is a tough love message for sure. But it is absolutely crucial if we want to truly change our mindset and stop making excuses. We play the tragic victim to escape the heavy responsibility of giving our absolute best effort today. Clinging to past trauma or blaming your lack of drive on some toxic boss from 5 years ago is, well, frankly, it's the lazy way out. Think about it. If you give 100% today and still fail, your pride is shattered. By claiming you're traumatized or a victim, you never actually have to test your limits. You're just building this little cage of excuses so you never have to risk flying. Moving right along to Section 3, the superiority game. So how do we actually deal with those incredibly annoying people who constantly try to one-up us? Adler calls this the superiority game, the instinctual drive to stand above others to compensate for a deep-seated inferiority complex. Look, everyone has feelings of inferiority, but the people who are always trying to one-up you, that aggressive manager, the coworker flexing how smart they are secretly terrified. They feel fundamentally weak, and to hide that agonizing weakness from themselves and from you, they desperately play this game to prove they are superior. Now, what is really interesting about this is how the game takes two completely different forms. On one side, we have fake confidence. This is your classic one-upper. They brag, they intimidate, they name drop, they wear the flashiest brands. But on the flip side, we have the poor me appeal. You know the type. The coworker who sighs loudly, complains they're drowning in work, and plays the helpless victim. Adler says, get this, these are the exact same manipulative game. The loud bragger and the quiet complaining victim, they are both just using different strategies to control you, demand your attention, and assert their superiority over you. Let's look at Section 4, unconscious behavioral traps. It's time to put on our Adler glasses and decode some of the more hidden sabotage around the office. Have you ever been driven absolutely crazy by a coworker who is chronically late, or constantly forgets to attach a file, or just leaves your urgent messages unread? Normally we think, they're just disorganized or totally incompetent. But with our Adler glasses on, we see the reversal. These actions are actually a form of silent revenge. By making you wait, they are unconsciously asserting power. They're sending a wordless message that says, my time is more valuable than yours, and frankly, your priorities don't matter to me. It is a passive-aggressive superiority play. Another totally fascinating trap is how we literally recreate our childhood living rooms right at our office desks, all based on birth order. The eldest child, who survived by being the good kid and following the rules, well, they often become the rigid, rule-obsessed boss. The middle child, who constantly had to fight for attention, becomes the rebellious, highly competitive employee who absolutely hates losing. And the youngest? The baby of the family usually adopts extreme strategies. They're either intensely ambitious to outshine everyone or totally lazy because they know they can't compete. So when your rebellious coworker is arguing with your rigid boss, you are literally just watching a childhood sibling rivalry play out over a spreadsheet. Okay, finally, Section 5, tomorrow's action plan. So the absolutely crucial point is, how do we actually use all this to make our work lives better? Here are the actionable steps you can take the literal minute you walk into the office tomorrow. Step 1, a total mindset shift. Stop using your past as an excuse. Drop that victim narrative today. Step 2, put on those Adler glasses. When a coworker tries to one-up you, do not get angry. Observe their hidden motive. Realize they are just overcompensating for deep insecurity. And step 3, refuse to participate in their game. When you realize that the intimidating boss or the bragging colleague is essentially just a frightened child throwing a tantrum to feel important, it completely neutralizes your stress. You don't have to fight back. You just step off the game board. Which brings us to our final question for this explainer. Will you drop your excuses today, step out of the superiority game, and finally take full responsibility for your own happiness? The brutal truth of human nature is that we are all a bit selfish and terrified of feeling inferior. But now that you know the mechanics behind those one-uppers and the psychological traps of your own excuses, the choice is entirely yours. I challenge you to walk into work tomorrow, stop complaining, and start taking absolute control of your life. Thank you so much for exploring this with me.